Liverpool's transfer window just took a wild turn. If you want the fastest Liverpool updates, hit subscribe now and never miss breaking Reds news.
New headline: Liverpool Transfer News Live. Afcon chaos, Alessandro Bastoni interest, Yan Diomande update. Liverpool drew a fourth successive game in the Premier League on Saturday as Burnley took a point away from Anfield in the Premier League. The Reds took the lead through Florian Wirtz in the first half, but Marcus Edwards equalized after the break. Having not moved more than one goal in front, Liverpool was unable to see the result out. In transfer news, Liverpool's failure to sign Marc Guehi is expected to be confirmed in the coming days, with the Crystal Palace captain set to sign for Manchester City. Arne Slot's men could be active in the market before it closes, with links to Alessandro Bastoni and Yan Diomande emerging. Both would appear likelier targets for the summer, however. As for Slot, with Xabi Alonso available, the calls for Liverpool's performances to come under scrutiny will only increase. The Reds have played much worse than they did against Burnley, but still need to improve substantially. Sadio Mane and Senegal win Afcon. Incredible scenes at Afcon. See previous post for details. Pop Guehi netted a screamer in extra time, and Brahim Diaz has been left utterly embarrassed. Congratulations to former Liverpool man Sadio Mane and his teammates. For the win anyway, not the walk-off. That was also embarrassing. What a mental game. It almost literally had everything. Afcon chaos. This is absolutely remarkable. Sadio Mane and Senegal were left fuming when Morocco was awarded a controversial penalty deep into stoppage time in the final at Afcon. The referee pointed to the spot for a supposed shirt pull, but Senegal was left angered by the decision. Its head coach told the players to leave the field in protest, with Mane one of those left on the touchline with the scoreline at 0-0. Eventually, Real Madrid forward Brahim Diaz, formerly of Manchester City, stepped up following a lengthy delay. He had the chance to win the game in the final seconds, but opted to try a paninka that sailed into the hands of Edouard Mendy. Extra time to follow. Incredible. Liverpool handed penalty verdict. Liverpool shouldn't have been awarded a penalty for the foul on Cody Gakpo against Burnley, former PGMOL chief Keith Hackett has claimed. Speaking to Football Insider, he has suggested that the contact was minimal. Dominic Szoboszlai missed from 12 yards anyway, crashing an effort off the crossbar. What a poor penalty decision by referee Andy Madley, Hackett said. We see at corner kicks holding, pulling, and blocking going unpunished. I struggle to see any offense that would see a penalty kick awarded to Liverpool. It was the wrong call by the officials. Afcon final latest. Mohamed Salah and Egypt didn't make the final, but former Liverpool teammate Sadio Mane is there with Senegal. At halftime in Rabat, it's 0-0 in their game with hosts Morocco. Alessandro Bastoni linked. Inter Milan center-back Alessandro Bastoni would be open to moving to the Premier League, with Liverpool a possible option for the 26-year-old in the summer, according to Team Talk. Under contract until 2028, it is suggested that he could be available for a fee of around $93 million, £69 million. Liverpool could lose Ibrahima Konate for free and appear to have lost out in the race for Marc Guehi. Juventus abandons Federico Chiesa chase. With a deal for Federico Chiesa proving difficult, Juventus has turned its attention to Atalanta's Daniel Maldini instead, according to Tuttosport. Liverpool letting Chiesa leave always felt unlikely. Though he isn't going to start often for Slot, he is required as an option, given the Reds have so few others. Vinicius Jr. is growing tired of life at Real Madrid, even after Xabi Alonso was fired, and Premier League clubs including Liverpool are keeping an eye on the situation. That is according to Team Talk. Real Madrid fans booed Vinicius ahead of their game with Levante this weekend, and the Spanish outlet AS says the Brazilian is distraught at such a reaction, with Kylian Mbappé consoling him. According to Marca, Real Madrid supporters see Vinicius as the player that got Alonso fired. They are therefore unhappy with him amid the team's underperformance. Jeremy Jackett transfer race. Rennes defender Jeremy Jackett is supposedly someone that Liverpool is considering. However, it seems that Chelsea could win the race by moving this month. French outlet REM MSC claims Chelsea has a $58 million, £43 million offer ready for Jackett. It's one that's far above what anyone else is likely to pay, given the player is still relatively unproven. Steven Gerrard on Arne Slot. Steven Gerrard is desperate for Liverpool to improve again under Arne Slot, but he says the Reds' boss deserves some credit for beginning to turn things around. "That won't be acceptable," Gerrard said on TNT Sports. "A draw with Burnley at home, with all due respect. If you're being critical of the Liverpool team, even though they're on a better run in terms of unbeaten games, the draws to the likes of Leeds and Burnley at home, that's not acceptable. There will be a lot of criticism that comes the manager's way again, but give the manager credit. The last time we spoke about this, you asked me if the team was in a crisis, and I said I didn't think it was in a crisis because I felt like this manager was capable of making things better and steadying the ship. He has moved the team from the middle of the table and up back into the Champions League positions. I think that will be a priority for him and the team, minimum top 4 this season, but that won't take anything away from the criticism that will come his way." Why Burnley star rushed away from Anfield. Burnley defender Axel Tuanzebe raced to the hospital following the final whistle at Anfield because his partner was about to give birth, Scott Parker has revealed. Tuanzebe's availability had been in doubt before kickoff, as his partner was expecting ahead of the match. The Burnley boss explained after the game, "This has been ongoing now for the last probably 12 to 16 hours, so Axel was a bit touch and go today. We had everything in place, car practically with its engine on, so obviously he had to rush off because it looks like his wife has gone into labor, so he's down the road now dealing with that." Aldridge understands booze. Former Liverpool striker John Aldridge said that he thoroughly understands why thousands of Liverpool supporters booed the team off following the Reds' draw with Burnley. The Reds are still looking for their first win of 2026 after 4 successive top-flight draws to start the year, and the frustrations of the fans were evident following the final whistle of the Burnley game. The Reds produced one of their better performances of the season against the Clarets, but Marcus Edwards' second-half strike secured a point for the Premier League's 19th-place team after Florian Wirtz had opened the scoring in the first half. Aldridge took to social media to say that he himself was so frustrated with the draws and that he fully understood the crowd's reaction to the results. Champions League qualification minimum requirement. Securing Champions League qualification for Liverpool is the minimum requirement for Arne Slot this season, according to a new report. The scrutiny on Slot continues to increase, despite the team being on a 12-game unbeaten run in all competitions. That run has included 6 draws, including 4 in the last 5 games, and the Reds are still waiting for their first Premier League win of 2026. Saturday's performance against Burnley was one of Liverpool's brighter performances in recent weeks, but the team was made to pay for its profligacy in front of the goal, with Dominic Szoboszlai missing a first-half penalty. Fan discontent with Slot is growing, but The Athletic reports that he retains the backing of his paymasters, although the same report suggests that could change if Liverpool fails to secure qualification for next season's Champions League. The sacking of Xabi Alonso by Real Madrid has added an extra dimension to Liverpool's managerial situation, with the former Reds midfielder likely to be favored by the majority supporters should the club opt to make a change in the dugout. Slot sack latest. Liverpool has no intention of firing Arne Slot, mounting scrutiny from supporters on the Reds' head coach. Many fans are calling for a managerial change, with Xabi Alonso now on the market following his departure from Real Madrid, but The Athletic says that Liverpool has no intention of relieving Slot of his duties, despite the team's dramatic drop-off this term. Liverpool remains in contention in the FA Cup and the Champions League, while for all the team's struggles, it still occupies a place in the Premier League's top 4. Although he retains the support of his paymasters, Slot will know that he must put a run of wins together in order to relieve the pressure from the fans. Diomande latest. Liverpool has been handed a timely boost in their pursuit of striker Jan Diomande after RB Leipzig's chairman openly acknowledged the forward's potential departure. Speaking to Sky Germany, Oliver Mintzlaff admitted that while the club would prefer not to part with the youngster after just 1 year, financial realities could make a transfer unavoidable. He said, "You can't let him go after just 1 year, but the truth is that there are also other top clubs out there, and we have to generate revenue." Liverpool's next 3 Premier League games. Bournemouth A, Saturday, January 24th, 5:30 p.m. GMT. Newcastle H, Saturday, January 31st, 8 p.m. GMT. Man City H, Sunday, February 8th, 8:15 p.m. GMT. Sunderland A, Wednesday, February 11th, 8:15 p.m. GMT. Nottingham Forest A,
Saturday, February 21st, 3 p.m. GMT. When will Salah return for Liverpool? Mohamed Salah's Africa Cup of Nations ended in disappointing fashion as Egypt lost back-to-back games to end the tournament in fourth position. Egypt's defeat by Senegal in last week's semi-final meant that the best Salah and co could hope for was a third place, but Egypt lost the third-place playoff to Nigeria on Saturday. The game between Egypt and Nigeria ended in a 0-0 draw after 120 minutes, with Nigeria winning on penalties after Salah and Omar Marmoush missed from 12 yards. Salah will now return to Merseyside to resume his club season, and many Liverpool fans will surely be wondering when he could return to action for Arne Slot's squad. In a press conference last week, Slot said that a decision had yet to be taken on whether Salah would be involved in this week's Champions League game away from Marseille. "He's due back next week," Slot said. "We're in talks with him over what we expect over here. That is something we're talking with him about." Rooney on Slot and Liverpool. Rooney said that it's a worrying time for Arne Slot and Liverpool at the moment after the Reds' winless start to 2026 and the Premier League continued. Assessing Liverpool's current
New headline: Xabi Alonso's perfect forward is already at Liverpool, but it's not Florian Wirtz. Saturday's 1-1 draw against Burnley at Anfield was a disappointing result for the Reds, but the Reds' U21 side provided some relief on an otherwise poor afternoon. An hour before Arne Slot's side kicked off at Anfield, Rob Page's U21 side took on Arsenal's U21 at the AXA Training Center. The young Reds put on an emphatic display, scoring 7 past the Gunners without reply, and one of Liverpool's brightest attacking prospects stole the show. Kieran Morrison, who made his senior debut in the Carabao Cup earlier this season, scored a hat-trick and provided an assist in the Premier League 2 clash. Kieran Morrison is ready for the step-up to first-team football. The 19-year-old, who represents Northern Ireland at youth level, has 5 goals and 5 assists in 15 games for Liverpool's U21s this season, and showed his quality again on Saturday. Morrison took his hat-trick incredibly well against Arsenal and showed a level of maturity and football intelligence that is great to see from an academy player. The logical next step for Morrison is to be given more minutes playing senior football, having already played for the majority of Liverpool's defeat to Crystal Palace in the League Cup. Slot has used his youth players sparingly since arriving at Anfield, with Rio Ngumaha and Trey Nyoni the only 2 players who feature somewhat regularly in the senior matchday squad. Even though they regularly make the bench, minutes have been hard to come by for Ngumaha and Nyoni this season. Kieran Morrison is perfectly suited to Xabi Alonso's system. There has been plenty of speculation surrounding Slot's future at Anfield, and the favorite to replace the Dutchman is Liverpool legend Xabi Alonso. This would be an ideal scenario for Morrison, who is well suited to the system that saw Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen become the first team to go a whole season unbeaten in the Bundesliga. Morrison would fit well in the role in which Jonas Hoffmann shone in during Alonso's Bundesliga winning season, operating as one of 2 attacking midfielders behind the striker. Hoffmann's partner for that season was Florian Wirtz, and Alonso would have the chance to recreate the system that worked so well for him in Germany at Anfield, initially using Morrison as a squad player, and then potentially developing him into a fully fledged starter.
New headline: 40-goal striker ready to join Liverpool's first-team squad. There's a 40-goal striker ready to join Liverpool's first-team squad. Alexander Isak's injury was a massive blow to the Reds at the time that it happened. Thankfully, Hugo Ekitike has stepped up in his absence. The Frenchman has been spellbindingly good since his arrival at Anfield. Ekitike has been probably the best signing of the summer window for Liverpool, and one of the best in the Premier League in general. The problem Arne Slot now has is that until Isak returns from injury, which is still several months away, there's just no adequate backup behind Ekitike. Mo Salah could play up front, but then Liverpool don't really have a right winger because Jeremy Frimpong needs to play as a right back since Connor Bradley is out for the season. The perks a Liverpool head coach always has is that the club's academy is regularly filled with the best up-and-coming talent. Liverpool's recruitment doesn't just focus on signing ready-made players, but there's also an emphasis on snatching up the best young talent both in Britain and abroad. This is what they did last summer when they signed Will Wright.
The 17-year-old had already made his first-team debut at Salford City by the time he joined Liverpool. He was only 16 years old in the summer, but had EFL experience under his belt and had scored 40 goals for Salford City at academy level last season. At the time of his arrival, Wright was tearing it up in pre-season with Salford's first team. When he signed for Liverpool, he immediately made his debut for the first team as well against Athletic Bilbao in a pre-season friendly, and so nearly scored. Since then, he's been with the U21s, where he suffered an injury last year, which meant he was out for much of the campaign. But Wright came back in late December and has hit the ground running, scoring in several friendlies and then netting his first Premier League 2 goal against Arsenal last weekend. Wright didn't just score, he also registered 2 assists in the game and was generally phenomenal, causing plenty of problems. His second assist came from brilliant pressing that allowed him to regain the ball and guide it into Kieran Morrison's path. That pressing and Wright's general performance shows that he's ready to join the first team. He could be the answer to Slot's Ekitike problem. Isak's injury could be his big moment to shine.
New headline, Bradley Barcola to Liverpool moving one step closer after Fabrizio Romano update. PSG appear to be opening the door for Liverpool to push through an incredible transfer, a star the Reds could really use. Liverpool's enormous summer spend hasn't quite worked out as planned. They attempted to immediately improve on their title-winning squad with over £400 million going out on new stars, but the team has undoubtedly gone backwards. This group just isn't gelling together, and that means a few more changes will need to happen, be it coming or going. And some of those might need to be major deals. Liverpool's attack, for instance, clearly lacks pace and a dynamic element after losing Luis Diaz. They didn't replace him with any new signing, instead banking on Rion Gumoha to fill the void. Arne Slot has barely called on the teenager, however. Moving for someone new feels inevitable, likely in the summer. And Paris Saint-Germain are opening the door. Bradley Barcola move gets closer. Liverpool are longtime admirers of Bradley Barcola, whose future with PSG has been in doubt for around a year. The arrival of Kvicha Kvaratskhelia was one sign that they wanted to move on. His inconsistent game time ever since is another. And now we've got arguably the biggest sign yet that Barcola will soon leave PSG. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that the Parisians are pushing to sign Dro Fernandes from Barcelona. Verbal agreement already close with the 18-year-old midfielder. PSG hope to get it signed very soon by triggering €6 million clause, Romano wrote on Twitter. PSG are ahead of English and German clubs. Luis Enrique also directly involved in this deal. Dro, a fantastic prospect as a left winger, almost certainly isn't joining PSG to sit behind Barcola in the pecking order. It makes no sense for him to, given he's getting games for Barcelona now. And with Liverpool reportedly in long-term contact with Barcola over a transfer, things appear to be heading in one direction. Certainly, PSG agreeing terms with Dro moves the Frenchman one step closer to Anfield.
New headline, Richard Hughes' plan for quality Liverpool ace revealed. Liverpool's first-team squad had a massive overhaul in the summer transfer window. Several players were both bought and sold, with Arne Slot and Richard Hughes spending over $450 million on new players. And while most fans thought that the Reds' performances would improve with all the new faces being added to their ranks, the reality of the situation is that, at the moment, they're worse than they were last term. Indeed, players such as Alexander Isak and Giovanni Leone haven't been given that much of a chance to prove their worth just yet due to injuries, but most of their other new signings have performed below expectations. With this in mind, it's hardly surprising to see the transfer rumors are already emerging from Anfield about what the future could hold for some of Slot's men. Kostas Tsimikas could return to Olympiacos in January. As mentioned, many Liverpool players were moved on in the summer, with some exiting permanently while others left on loan. Kostas Tsimikas was one of the few who exited L4 on a season-long loan deal to Roma. And although his time in Italy started out well, things haven't gone to plan recently, with Gianpiero Gasperini not trusting the left back. This has resulted in questions being shared about his future, with a new report stating that the Greek Scouser could join Olympiacos in the January transfer window. Greek outlet Sports King start their report by stating that Tsimikas will return to Olympiacos in January, that is, despite him being on a season-long loan to Roma. This is due to his limited playing time for the Serie A outfit, which could result in him returning to Liverpool immediately. Liverpool want to take advantage of Tsimikas' situation, with the defender himself giving the green light to end his loan with Roma prematurely as long as they can find a replacement. Liverpool must figure out what they're going to do with Costa Tsimikas. At the moment, Liverpool aren't likely thinking all that much about Tsimikas. It's clear that the left-back is no longer in Slot's plans now that he has Milos Kerkez among his ranks. And even though some fans thought the Greece international would be back next season if Andy Robertson didn't extend his stay, it unfortunately doesn't seem like things are going to pan out like that. There have been times when the left-back has been in impressive form, but more often than not, he's been a mistake waiting to happen. As much as it will hurt fans to see the 29-year-old leave Liverpool for good, at this point in his career, it feels like the best thing for both parties. That is, even if he was described as a quality player by Jurgen Klopp.
New headline: Liverpool have a glaring hole in the squad that needs addressing. Liverpool carried out an overhaul of their Premier League winning squad in the summer, but they failed to address one major gap in the squad. The Reds broke the British transfer record twice in the same window to bring in Florian Wirtz and Alexander Isak, and Hugo Ekitike was also brought in to reinforce the attack. Giovanni Leone, Milos Kerkez, and Jeremy Frimpong were added to Arne Slot's backline, and a deal from Mark Guehi also fell through in the final hours of the window. The one area of the pitch that wasn't strengthened was the midfield, making it 4 windows since a midfielder last arrived at Anfield. It looks possible that this January will become the 5th window in which the Reds have failed to strengthen in the middle, raising the question, should the midfield be a priority for Liverpool? Why haven't Liverpool signed a midfielder for so long? The last midfielder to arrive at Anfield was Ryan Gravenberch, who joined on deadline day in the summer of 2023. That window, Liverpool also signed Alexis Mac Allister, Dominic Szoboszlai, and Wataru Endo, meaning that Curtis Jones is the only current Reds midfielder who predates that summer. Plenty of midfielders have been linked with Merseyside moves since, but none have actually made it to Anfield. This is no doubt partly down to the excellent performances of Liverpool's current options over the last few seasons, but Arne Slot's midfield has still felt a man short at times. An injury to Endo and a change in system have meant that there have been several games this season in which every single one of Liverpool's fit senior midfielders have started. How badly do Liverpool need another midfielder? Although Endo is back in the matchday squad now, his recent injury revealed just how fragile the Reds are in the middle of the park. If 2 of Liverpool's 5 senior midfielders were to get injured at the same time, Slot would be put in a very difficult position. Cover in the holding role is especially thin, and the evolution of Gravenberch has left Liverpool without a real option to anchor their midfield. The position may be one earmarked for attention next summer, but it should be a priority this January. Liverpool's campaign has already been disappointing, and it does feel as though the Reds are a couple of midfield injuries away from total collapse. Richard Hughes will have a short list of midfielders, and he needs to bring one in sooner rather than later in order to get Slot's side back on track.
New headline: massive offer for second Liverpool target after Mark Guehi disaster. Liverpool are witnessing a second massive offer for a Liverpool target. It comes right after missing out on Mark Guehi. Mark Guehi is heading to Manchester City despite all of Liverpool's work into a move, and that's work that was minutes away from completing a deal too. The Reds pushed hard right at the end of the summer transfer window and had virtually everything agreed. Crystal Palace pulled the plug at the last moment, however, deciding they couldn't afford to let Guehi leave without a replacement. With no time left to sign one, the deal was done. Liverpool would then need to wait until 2026 to try again, but City have blown them out of the water with a massive offer. Guehi will sign for City then, leaving the Reds to search for new options. One of those, however, appears to be going through the exact same situation. Jeremy Jacquet under offer. Rennes defender Jeremy Jacquet is one of those Liverpool are reportedly looking at, per Football Insider. However, it seems Chelsea are looking to win the race by force. RMC Sport claims they've got a €50 million offer ready for the player. It's one that's far above what anyone else is likely to pay, given Jacquet is still relatively unproven. The 20-year-old only started playing top-flight football a year ago. Fabrizio Romano has now confirmed that talks are in progress, and Chelsea could be landing one here. It would leave Liverpool scrambling a bit, as they might be running out of targets here. Guehi, Jacquet, and Diode Upamecano should all confirm they won't be off to Anfield shortly. So where do the Reds go? There's no question they need a center-back, but it increasingly appears that they'll wait for the summer. Let's just hope some good options remain.